Hi, welcome to a new video. This is Mr. Chow from EnglishTuition.org. Now in today's video, we'll be doing a little bit of vocab building. Now because the 2025 general elections is ongoing, so this video will be related to politics and elections. But first things first. First of all, I would like to declare that I'm actually not political. I do not talk about politics during lesson, okay, and I do not talk about the government and about the policies, right? So this is purely for vocab building, right? So the objective for today's lesson is to do a little bit of language building, enhance the awareness of for some of our students, so that they are more aware, okay, of what is happening on the ground.
Your eyes are open. Your eyes are open. I can see the world now.
Okay, and of course, if you can promote some critical thinking, okay, I think that will be useful. All right, so let's get started with the new words. The first word that we have here is incumbent, right? You hear this a lot during the rallies and the speeches, and this is a noun, right? This refers to the current holder of the political office. So in our case, it actually refers to the PAP, all right, because they are the one who hold the majority seats in the parliament, and hence they are our official government, all right, and we often refer to them as the incumbent. The next word we have is electorate, right? So electorate refers to all the people in a country or an area who are entitled to vote, right? So in our case, anyone above the age of 21, and you have to be the holder of pink IC, okay, in order to be eligible to vote. So a lot of my students, like especially those taking A levels and O levels, right, 16, 17, 18, so in a few short years they will be eligible to vote. So I don't think it's too early, right, to start to pay attention to what is happening during the elections, right, just to build up that awareness. So a lot of my students say, right, this is a good time to get started, right, just to begin to pay attention to actually what our leaders are doing in this country. All right, and then the next word we have is the opposition, right? We know them as the opposition. They are the competition for the incumbent. So nowadays, during the rallies or the speeches, sometimes we refer to them as being the alternative voices. Okay, so instead of seeing them as the competition, some people might want to vote in people who are able to bring in alternative voices. Okay, so these are good words that you can use in essays. So these parties include like the Workers' Party, SDP, NSP, etc. Right? We have quite, the number of opposition parties have grown over the years, right? So that's pretty exciting.
Ooh, this is so exciting.
For the Singapore elections. Next word we have partisan. This is a noun, right? You hear this word pretty often as well. Okay, this refers to support for a single party, right? And then we have bipartisan, right? Bipartisan means dual, two. Okay, so meaning you have support by two parties, right? For example, you have a bipartisan bill that has been passed or that has been approved in parliament. Okay, so question to ask is, do you think partisan politics is better than bipartisan politics in Singapore, right? I don't have the answer. So what are your views, right? It's important to ask good questions, ask the right questions so that you stimulate your mind to think a little bit more, okay, be more connected to what is happening in our own backyard, right? Instead of being disconnected, just the government run on its own. So I think it's good for Singapore in the sense that if the youth can take an interest in politics, maybe they can find a voice, right? And maybe you have something to say, okay? Gerrymandering, okay, another noun. So what is gerrymandering, right? Manipulating the boundaries of electoral districts to favor one party. So in effect, this is kind of a move by the incumbent, remember incumbent, right, to influence the results of the votes, right? So, but I'm not sure how true it is, right? So just observe for yourself and see for yourself, is this true on the ground, okay? Next word we have is populism, another noun, right? We don't hear this word quite as often as some of the other words. This is a political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel their concerns are disregarded by elites. So, for instance, if you feel that the incumbent have kind of disconnected, right, with the general population, right, and they are not listening,
I'm not listening.
and they just disregard their concerns, disregard their voices, maybe they're just interested in building up their portfolio, right, for self-interest. we don't know, right? So the opposition might come in and adopt this approach and says, hey, maybe we can lend a voice to the ordinary citizens, and hence that gives rise to the term populism. All right. So question to ask, does this approach work well in Singapore? I do not know. What are your views? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, next word we have here is coalition. Coalition, right? A group formed when multiple political parties or individuals come together to achieve a common goal, often to contest elections or form a government. Usually this refers to the opposition parties, right? So we could have a coalition government that are formed by various different parties, right? So they operate under different brands, right? And then they come together to cooperate and form the coalition government. Okay, but is that good for Singapore? I don't know, right? Okay, another word that has been thrown around quite often, if you watch podcasts, speeches, rallies, is the word calibration. All right, I remember, in the previous elections, this is not such a huge word, all right, but now it's commonly heard, right? So what do we need to calibrate? So I'm getting the feeling that people want the government to be more polished and more refined, and therefore there are certain aspects or certain segment of the society that needs to be calibrated, right? And if you apply this to some of the major concerns in society, right? For example, calibrate healthcare, right? Calibrate the number of immigrants, right? How about the stress in education, the rising cost of living, right? And the GDP growth, etc., etc., right? So these are major concerns that may need calibration, right? So question to ask, are the politicians good at balancing the major issues in Singapore? Are they competent? Do they have the experience, right? Who can come up with better proposals, right? Just watch the rallies and decide for yourself, okay? So in effect, what I'm interested in, what do the young have to say, right? So don't just take a back seat and be so passive, right? Ultimately, I feel this is our country. So I do think the young should take an active interest, not passive, active interest in what is happening in the country, right? In order for us to come together, right, and have different voices, right, different perspectives of policies, right, and for the good of Singapore. Okay. So with that said, we've come to the end of the video. So like I said, ultimately, all I'm interested in is, what do our young aspiring youth, right, have to say, right, about the policies. Okay, I want them to have a say. They are young, right? I want them to have a voice. I want them to come in with fresh perspective. I want them to have the skills, to be critical thinkers and not just take, what someone else has said wholesale and just follow policies blindly. All right. So thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you learned something. So for those who are serious to sign up for lessons, please visit EnglishTuition.org for more details. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.